In this video, I'm going to make a Big Mac the best I can with what I just happen to have in my home. But the thing is, when I provisioned for quarantine, I never imagined I would eventually want to make something like a Big Mac. Now look, I am well aware that stores are still open. In many states, the law appropriately requires you to wear a mask when you shop there, but they're still open. So if there were something required for a Big Mac that I don't have in my house, I could go to the store and get it. And I'm also well aware that McDonald's themselves are still open. I could, if I wanted, go and get an actual Big Mac in the drive-thru. But it also needs to be admitted that, however small the risk, leaving your house to get drive-thru McDonald's or going to the store is a greater risk than staying at home and not doing those things. There are immune-compromised people for whom even that small risk is too big a risk. I am not one of them, but I know people for whom that is their unfortunate reality. So there will be such a thing as a quarantine Big Mac that is simply the best Big Mac you can make if you really can't or won't leave your house at this time. Now, why a quarantine Big Mac specifically? Because I'm a Big Mac super fan. I've made a number of videos about my love for the Big Mac sauce in particular. There's a link in the info section of this video where you can explore these. So let's discuss what we're up against in my particular household. It has been a full month since I entered a supermarket of any sort. Nor do I need to at any time soon. My wife and I for years have purchased certain things whenever they were on sale at Costco, and we have a large basement to store them. We have enough pasta and pasta sauce and boxes of bags of Indian food and rice to live for, well, certainly long enough to get to the bottom of the curve. But here's the big problem. Now, my full-time job is that I'm a Latin teacher at a public high school. I even once made a video about how you would say the components of a Big Mac in Latin. But I'm also an Eastern Orthodox priest, and quarantine hit at a particularly difficult time for us. I live in New Jersey, and Lent had just started when New Jersey schools were closed and we went to distance learning. When this initially happened, we thought this would be 2 weeks. But guess what? It's a full month later and there is still no end in sight. And Eastern Orthodox fast from meat for the entirety of Lent, not just Fridays. So not only have I not had meat since the beginning of Lent, I don't even have any meat in my house. When Lent and quarantine started, I didn't imagine that a month later this would still be going on. Again, I could go get some ground beef, but I've practiced strict quarantine until now, and I'm not now going to go to the store or McDonald's itself just to have a Big Mac with meat. So let's get started making this quarantine Big Mac with whatever I do happen to have in my home. 2 all-beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. Oh yes, I know the song. And so, here's what I do have. Instead of 2 all-beef patties, I have Beyond Meat plant-based patties. Do they taste exactly like ground beef? Well, of course not. They have the same general consistency of ground beef, and well, I guess they taste more like beef than, well, sliced pears do. They're not beef, but they will have to do. Now, special sauce. That will be the most important thing of all. That's what makes a Big Mac, so I'm going to save that discussion for last. Lettuce. I don't have any. You see here a shot of the drawer where my lettuce would have been if I had any. I think we had some lettuce when quarantine began, but we would have eaten that up within the first week. So guess what, people? My quarantine Big Mac simply won't have any lettuce. Cheese. Now that I have, look, in the same drawer, I do have some cheese. Not a slice of like the American cheese you would get at McDonald's, but I have some sharp cheddar that I will slice thin and melt onto that Beyond Meat patty. Pickles. I don't have any pre-sliced pickles, but I have a jar of dill pickles, which I can slice into reasonable facsimiles of what would be on my Big Mac. Onions. Got 'em, thank God. I will be able to put a sprinkling of finely diced onions on the layers of this concoction. A sesame seed bun, that I do not have. And by the way, let me share with you that the last Big Mac I ate before Lent began weeks ago also did not have a sesame seed bun. Whoever made my Big Mac made a serious mistake and used not the Big Mac sesame seed bun, but the bun for like a chicken sandwich or something. And I didn't discover this mistake until I got home with my food. And it made for a less than ideal Big Mac experience, let me tell you. The bun was harder than it should have been, and every time I took a bite, all the stuff on the inside just got pushed out. I spent the entire time reassembling my Big Mac to eventually take a final, very unsatisfying bite. What I have in the house, which I will use, is this brand bread. I will cut discs out of slices of this bread to produce the 3 buns, top, middle, and bottom. It's got sesame seeds among the ingredients, so, well, there you go. Now, I've saved the best for last, special sauce. Like I said earlier, I've made more than one video about special sauce itself. You can make a reasonable facsimile in your home if you have the ingredients. The base ingredient of special sauce is mayonnaise, which, guess what, people? I don't have. I found in my fridge a little jar of chipotle mayonnaise. Now, there's no way this could contribute toward anything close to homemade special sauce, tasting anything like what you get at McDonald's. So the question is, how do you make homemade mayonnaise? I don't know either, but guess what? I may not have ground beef in my home, but I do have internet, so I Googled it. It turns out I happen to have all the necessary ingredients to make my own mayonnaise. To make mayonnaise, according to the recipe by Alton Brown that I found on the internet, I will be whisking together egg yolk, oil, vinegar, lemon juice, mustard powder, and a dash of sugar and salt. I don't have mustard powder. The only mustard I have in the house is Grey Poupon, so it will have to do. The only oil I have is avocado oil, which is darker than the ones the recipe calls for. But again, how many times have I said this? It will have to do. Here are all of those ingredients ready to be mixed. Okay, done. Let me tell you, that was more work than I expected it to be. You have to drizzle in the oil like a drop at a time while whisking away, and well, I'm glad today was a rest day from working out because my arm is sore. Now, on to the next step. To turn that mayonnaise into Big Mac special sauce, I will be using the recipe that the Canadian McDonald's executive chef Dan Coudreaut showed in a promotional video once. In my blind taste test video that I made, in which I tried to guess which one was actual special sauce, I picked this, one of the times, over actual special sauce from the restaurant. So it's more than a reasonable substitute for the real stuff. To make this, I will add into that homemade mayonnaise the quantities of the ingredients that I approximated from watching his video of the following: yellow mustard, a bit more vinegar, sweet pickle relish, onion powder, garlic powder, and a bit of paprika for color. Again, I don't have yellow mustard. I will use a bit more of that Grey Poupon. It will have to do. I also don't have regular paprika. Instead, all I have in my house right now is smoked paprika. It will have to do, and as a result, my special sauce will therefore have a slightly smoky taste. I have mixed all that together, and I now have a bowl of the most important Big Mac component of all, that luscious crown jewel which I hope will make everything else I lack still turn this experience into something almost like eating a store-bought Big Mac. It's time to assemble our quarantine Big Mac. A bun goes on the bottom. Then we add one of our Beyond Meat sad substitutes for a real beef patty. It's already got some melted cheese on it, you'll see. I'm going to sprinkle some onions on this. And now I'm going to put a little bit of special sauce right on there, and for me a little bit is a lot. Okay, good. Okay. Now we add the middle bun and a second patty. More onions. Now I'm going to add a few of my pickles. Okay. Now, here is where the lettuce would have gone if I had any, but I don't. So we're going to do what we can. Now, here's where I'm going to add the lion's share of the special sauce. Okay. Oh, goodness gracious. Now, when I get a restaurant Big Mac, I ask for a side of extra special sauce, which I then put on the top bun. Now, don't even try, by the way, to ask for a side of extra special sauce in any country besides the United States. I have a whole video on that problem if you want to watch. Okay. I know this looks like a lot, but I love this stuff. All right. And so now the top bun goes on. Here we are, people. My quarantine Big Mac. Is it an identical twin of the Big Mac I could have if I decide to break quarantine and go through the drive-thru? No, of course not. But it's the closest thing to a Big Mac that I was able to make with what I personally had in the house, having never imagined a month ago that this would all go on so long. And I'll be honest, this has been a lot more work than it would have been to go through the drive-thru. The moment of truth is here. Let's take a bite. I'm going to be honest with you, because you deserve the truth. This is simultaneously close enough to the experience of eating a Big Mac that I enjoy it, while also being far enough away from the experience of eating an actual Big Mac that it just makes me long for a real Big Mac, if that makes any sense. But this is my dinner tonight. Be well, people. Stay home. Stay safe. One day at a time, we will get through this. And until I get to eat a real Big Mac,